Now you say that you condemn Manusmriti. Do you have the guts?
Condemn those aspects of Manusmriti.
No.
I've read the Manusmriti, you haven't. I have read it.
Do you remember Akbar, who had translated, who got Ramayana and Mahabharata translated and sent to the rest of the world?
30,000 people killed in Tod, Akbar. 30,000.
I have to ask you to stop.
If you want to have the last word, you are talking to the wrong person.
We're here today to discuss a pretty delicate and tricky topic, which is that what is the role of religion in our time, and do we at all need religion in the 21st century? So as I said, that's a pretty delicate topic to explore in today's time. But you know, I have two fantastic people to discuss it. I think the critical issues we're really going to be looking at today is that you know, is religion a productive, constructive, or a destructive influence in our life? And there's a Pew report, a global report, that said that by 2050, the religiosity of people is actually going to go up to 87%, and that people across the world are going to get more and more religious. At the same time, there's a sign of decline in advanced societies, where people typically say that they have no religion, and we are seeing a decline of religion in advanced societies. So these are two sort of, you know, conflicting impulses that we see. And finally, there's another Pew report in India which showed that 87% of our country people see themselves as religious, but they hold religious diversity as a very important part. 80% say diversity, respecting other religions, is an important part of being Indian and an important part of being whatever religion they are. And 53% said they respect diversity, 24% said they don't. So that kind of gives you a basic map of where we are. And one last data point before I open this up is that at the same time, when we talk about the 21st century, we're seeing a complete explosion of technology. And along with technology, we've seen a 500% increase in hate speech, in religious crimes, in the destructive potential. So, you know, is there really a distinction between technology and religion, or are they aiding each other? So I'm going to open this up. This was just to set the canvas. There was already introductions, but I'm just going to add one quick line. Javed Sahab, as all of you know, is a legendary lyricist and filmmaker and been part of our creative imagination for more than 50 years. But much more than that, his relevance today is that he is a staunch believer in the power of the human mind, and he keeps his faith with rationality. On the other side, we have Makarand Paranjape, who's an English honors professor at JNU, who's a novelist and a poet, and who makes a distinction between religion and dharma, but definitely lays a lot of store by the function and importance of dharma in India, if not the whole world. So that's again to lay out the canvas for you guys. Javed Sahab, let me start with you. You know, as I defined you, you are a staunch believer in the power of the human mind and in rationalism. So how do you define religion? And what to you is the heart of why you see a major antithesis between religion and, say, a life of reason and science and, you know, the rational life? What is your opposition to religion?
First of all, at the very outset, I must tell you that I am not here to discuss any particular religion. For me, all the religions are the same. I don't like any one of them. So, thank you. Now, we have to discuss. Actually, not only religion, I am against this word which you have used, that faith in rationality. The word faith is wrong. I am against religion because it expects faith from you. Any ism, any philosophy, political, social, whatever, if it expects faith from you, it's a suspect. What is faith? Which is the basic requirement of believing a religion. What is the difference between faith and belief? I believe there is North Pole. Is it my faith? Why it is not faith? I have not seen North Pole. I have never gone there. But common sense says, if the earth is round, there will be a top of it. There are people who have visited it. There are people who have photographed there, people who are living there. And if I am that keen, it is not beyond possibility for me to go and see North Pole myself. And logic says that why would anybody lie about North Pole? What is the gain that they in saying that there is a North Pole or a South Pole? So it is my belief. Anything which has logic, reason, witness, proof is belief. It is not faith. Faith is something which doesn't have logic, doesn't have reason, doesn't have witness, doesn't have proof. So how do you differentiate between faith and stupidity? Because stupidity also doesn't require any of these things. You can reach a conclusion without any of these things. So the problem of religions, I am not here to talk about any particular religion, is that they ask me to accept something without any of these things, conditions. That is not acceptable. Even if tomorrow there is a political system, and there was one, many people confused because I was born in a communist family, they think I am also a communist, but I am not. Because again, you want unwavering loyalty without a question. I will question. And we have reached from caves and trees to this place by questioning. That is why I am against religions.
Makarand, let me come to you. As I asked Javed Sahab to define religion, and he made this binary between faith and belief, you make a distinction, interesting one, between religion and dharma. You say that at least in India, we civilizationally in Hinduism is actually a dharma and it's not a religion. And you have made the statement that the fight in India is not between religions, but between conception of religion. So before we start exploring further, how do you define religion? And what is this distinction you're making between dharma and religion?
Thank you, Shoma. You know, when you say you're a professor at JNU, they think you're not a professor, but an ideologue. I'm not an ideologue, okay? So the first point I want to make, I beg to disagree with Javed Sahab a bit. You know, it's an old Marxist fallacy that all religions are the same. Actually, religions are not the same. They're very different. There are religions of dogma. There are religions of profession. In other words, religions based on a covenant. Either you're the chosen people or you believe that you'll be redeemed by the blood or the sacrifice of the Son of God, or there's a covenant between a monotheistic God and his last prophet. These are religions of dogma and religions of profession and religions of the covenant. But there are a whole lot of other traditions which are not based on dogma or even faith. Faith is a tricky word. I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get diverted. But these are religions. I don't want to call them religions. They are traditions of practice and of experience and ultimately of transformation. So we really fall prey to what I call both categorical and categorical errors when we, put everything in one basket. And that's the problem with the Pew people. In fact, when the report on India came out, I was one of the 4 or 5 people that invited to discuss the report. And I said, what do you mean by religion? Your fundamental flaw is you don't define religion. Nowhere in the Pew, entire website is religion clearly defined. I think that in India, just think about it, regardless of what your mother tongue is, there is no word for religion, Javed Sahab. See, if you're a great poet in Urdu, you use the word imam, and many Hindus will use the word dharm or dharma. But that's not a translation of religion. For example, Javed Sahab is anti-religion. But he's not Be-Iman. If anybody called you Be-Iman, you would say, I'm not Be-Iman. Similarly, I'm not in favor of religion, but I don't want to call myself a dharmic. I believe I'm a dharmic person. And being a dharmic person doesn't require a belief in God. So, coming back to your point, we are not a religious people. We are a dharmic society. But I want to throw in another word, which is also a bit of a complicated word. We are also a spiritual people. What does that mean? That's where Javed Sahab and I will disagree. We are not materialistic. You know, if you look at all the different traditions in India, very few were purely materialistic. Everyone felt that consciousness is not just, you know, the same as the organ of a body like the brain.
You made this distinction between the dharmic civilizations or traditions and religions which are a covenant with one God. So then, are you making a distinction and a hierarchical distinction in your mind, or at least for you, between dharma, so say Hinduism, and are you putting Abrahamic or Semitic religions like say Christianity or Islam at a lower level in your scheme of things?
No, I don't hierarchize, you know, because you see these value judgments are all based on very flimsy prejudices, you know, and your own indoctrination and your own conditioning. But here's the thing. These monothetic systems, I don't even call them monotheisms because theos means deity, God. In fact, deva and theos are the same word. They mean the shining ones originally, okay? Deos, theos, deva. But by monothetic, I mean things which believe in one book, one doctrine, you know, one ideology. Communism, for example. You know, with due respect, because the progressive writers, this is the tradition we have from Sajjad Zahir, you know, who used to hang out at Nanking restaurant with Mulk Raj Anand and places like here where Khwaja Ahmad Abbas and others really influenced the, you know, Hindi film industry. I mean, they lost the battle for Pakistan, but they won the battle for Bollywood. But listen, the point is, these systems have created havoc in the world. The monothetic people have created a lot of destruction all over the world. Now, that doesn't mean that others haven't, okay? Like Japan was a colonial power too, and quite brutal.
Makarand,
Just to finish, just let me finish. So, I don't hierarchize, but I want people to think about these things, you know. Whenever someone says only my way or hell, fire, or my way is the only true way, you know, which is not the Indian way. The India, we have pluralism, okay? So, pluralism means, see, the Jains have anekantavad, syadvad, okay? In the Vedas, you say, ekam sattva prabhuda vadanti. So, pluralism means, that's the basis of modern liberalism, which means you can believe something, you can believe something else, you can believe, and there's space for everyone, okay? But the moment you say, my truth is the only truth, that's where I'm afraid I'll have to resist any such ideology which wants to negate the pluralism, you know, of society and of civilization.
Thank you, Makarand. As I said, you know, why I'm trying to rein you in is because if you open it up to spirituality, quantum physics, communism, all of that, we are barely going to be able to discuss the issue at hand, which is purely the idea of religion or dharma, civilizational issues. And I'm going to, by and large, restrict it to India because otherwise the canvas gets too large, you know. But Javed Sahab, let me ask you the question that Makarand has raised. Do you make a distinction? Would you place a little more, you know, interest in the dharmic way of thinking or the plural way of thinking that he's brought up? And do you think there's any distinction between the Semitic religions and the dharmic traditions? Or are you equally scathing of both, and why?
You see, these are all semantics. And I can, without asking you, I can tell you, because I include myself, that whatever he has said, almost 75% we have not understood.
We have not?
We have not understood.
Sorry, Javed Sahab, couldn't hear. We have not?
We have not understood whatever he has said. Out of that, 75%.
We have not understood. Sir.
Because only semantics. These are words. Ultimately, you say that this is all of you are the same. It's saying, and if you don't believe it, go and ask a Dalit. This is Dharma. What kind of a Dharma is that? Where for thousands of years, crores of people were made untouchable. This is variety. This is tolerance. You tolerate who? You tolerate Nadir Shah or Temur. Did you tolerate the Dalit in your village? No, you did not. Even today, every day it happens. So don't give me this Dharma story. These are words. You go to temples, you are very bothered about those temples that you have lost. I wish you luck, you may get all of them. Because it doesn't concern me. I am neither interested in temples, nor in mosques, nor neither in church. Don't feel superior because you don't believe in one God, you believe in many. In my eyes, both are equally wrong. Ultimately, you worship a deity. You have certain rituals because they are mantras that you read. Everything you do, that religion does. And you, when you fill a form, when you made your passport, there was a column, religion. What did you write? None. You wrote Hinduism, didn't you? So let us not hide behind these so many, a fog of big words. Let's be realistic. For me, whether you believe in one God or 30 crores, it doesn't make any difference to me as long as you believe. You have beliefs and that makes you irrational. Irrational. What is the difference between us and rest of the creatures? Rest of body is almost the same. A heart, a kidney, a liver, a stomach is like any other ape. The only thing that makes us different is mind, brain, logic. And where does it live? In the brain. Achha, now when we say brain, people think we are talking of only conscious mind. When you say inspiration or it came from somewhere else, it doesn't come from anywhere else. It is your mind. If it comes from somewhere else, it should come in Greek, Chinese, Hebrew. But it comes only in the language that you know. You have lost a key. And you are looking for it and you are trying to remember, where did I put my key? And you can't remember it. And then you are talking to somebody else, discussing dharma, maybe. And suddenly you remember, oh, I had put the key there. How? Because a part of your brain is working, not only on the key, about any issues, about everything. It keeps working. So whatever you say, inspiration, and it certainly came to me, it all comes from your brain. Now, as far as spiritualism is concerned, I accept some people are believers, some people are not believers. What is this spiritualism? It is like being slightly pregnant.
Slightly?
Pregnant.
Slightly pregnant.
So either you are pregnant or you are not. Come on, tell me. Now, the fact is that if my information is right, the same gentleman says that the law that was made in 91, that now there will be a status quo maintained of the religious places, except for Ayodhya. He believes that it should be removed. I have no problem with that. I don't care. But the fact remains that he is emotionally attached to temples. And he is giving us this philosophy. And he is waxing eloquent about some other world. But ultimately, you are saying what any RSS person would say.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Makarand, you've been wanting to intervene. Start with the Dalit.
I want to respond because he said we are not talking about specific religions. And then he started attacking one religion. This is...
Okay, give me a chance. Okay.
Hold on.
Okay,
hold on.
Now, you're not to interrupt.
Right. Not
Before
to interrupt.
we entered here, he said, please don't interrupt. I never interrupted
I agree.
him.
Makarand, I'll just say one thing.
You
just
have to
in
give
terms
me
of
my
clarity.
2 minutes. You have to give me my 2 minutes.
No, I'm going to give you 5 because he took 5. I just want to put 1 second. No, 1 minute. I just want to make one distinction. In fairness to Javed Sahab, he brought up a critique of Dharma or of Hinduism, because you made a distinction between the dharmic traditions and the monotheistic.
You don't have to defend
religion.
him.
No, I'm only...
Please, let me respond. Shoma...
Makarand, one second. Not in defense. Hold on. Guys, hold on. No, because this is how public discourse gets hijacked. I am not defending him. As a moderator, it's my duty to bring the facts back on the table. This is how the distinction began. He started speaking of the dharmic religion because he made a distinction between them. That's it, Javed Sahab.
Sorry, but I have to say this.
Javed Sahab,
that there should have been a Muslim sitting here. I don't think in this whole country anybody has criticized mullahs or their religion more than me.
Yeah. Okay. Come back to.
No, see, first of all, when Javed Sahab says they're all the same, this is the most dangerous kind of thinking because you're unable to make a distinction, which is fundamental. For example, you can easily say what happened to the untouchables, but the point is there was no such word. There was no such word like Dalit if you look at the ancient times. So you can't make this a trans-historical phenomenon. But let me ask you this.
There were Shudras and Brahmins. And
but again, you're interrupting. My point is
no, factually.
The trouble with the progressives is that if you look at, from the time of Chauth Ka Joda, which is a beautiful story by Smat Chuktai, please read it. It's better than Lihaf in a fundamental sense. You see, you criticize a particular system socially, but never theologically. Whereas, if you look at what's happening in Iran, you need to criticize it theologically, because the moment you make a distinction between a believer and a non-believer, okay, between a mu'min and a kafir, and the latter has no rights. They can be killed, you have to pay jizya, they can be enslaved, they can be sold, it's called ghanimat, you conquer a territory, they become loot. So please, these are completely different systems, so you can't put them all together. Secondly, he says they're all the same, you believe in one God or 1,000 gods. I already told him that people who don't believe in any God, you want to transform yourself. And then the last point, a more humorous point, he said you can either be pregnant or not. There's no such thing as slightly pregnant. I beg to disagree. You see, just before you take the pregnancy test, you don't know whether you are pregnant or you're not pregnant. Then when you take the test, you just realize, oh gosh, I'm pregnant. Wow. Some people are happy, some people are not so happy, whatever the case may be. And then the baby grows. So there's a very slight pregnancy. There's only a zygote. There's only one cell, please. Then it grows bigger and bigger and bigger, and finally the baby comes out. So this is the binary thinking which we oppose. It's either this or that. No, it can be this and that and something in between. And he's absolutely right about one thing. Consciousness is very complex. He's right, because even the cells of consciousness, okay, even this table, even this carpet is conscious. So we have to open our minds and not be prejudiced. With due respect, Javed Sahab, and please don't brand people. You're RSS, you're attached to Ayodhya. I mean, what kind of logic is this? इसको कहते हैं आक्षेप डालना, किसी पे आरोप लगाना, सबूत के बगैर, okay? But what I'm trying to say is that consciousness is the key where these differences are now coming onto a common platform.
Makarand, I just wanted to say here that, again, like I'm saying, I'm struggling to keep all the threads that are opening up. When Makarand is talking about consciousness and quantum physics, and Javed Sahab is laughing at it by saying, oh, these are complicated words, and so that, again, I would say is not fair, because not knowing about something and not going deep into a topic is not a good reason to laugh at it. Because when there is, and for instance, when you think about the Vedanta or the Advaita, there are studies in Johns Hopkins and elsewhere where there's a new study called the neurotheology, which is the neuroscientific basis of theology, because science is beginning to explore all this. But these are complicated areas. I'm not going to go into it. I just want to say it's not fair to laugh at it because it's complicated. But I want to come back to this very important distinction, because if the topic that the organizers chose is religion needed? And what's the role it's playing? So you have been constantly making this distinction between the Semitic religions, the monotheistic religions, and the Hindu Dharma, for instance. I want to ask you a very pointed question. Let's for a moment assume that, even going by your logic, that there is a distinction because the other traditions are more open, more embracing, etc. They have cultural issues, caste issues, but theologically or cosmologically, they're more open. But now let me ask you, since we're talking about religion in this time, that the Hindutva articulation of Hinduism, would you accept that it is taking Hinduism down a slippery slope? It is mutilating the idea of Hinduism, and in fact is turning all religions, Muslims, Hindus, Christians, into a tool of identity, which is very, very harmful for society. Would you agree with that?
So, Shoma, this is the deal. The point is very clearly that religions of dogma, religions of belief, and theological systems are really, you know, should I say, anachronisms in our time, okay? As society evolves, as human beings evolve, the world is going into a much more plural space, okay? And you ask, who needs religion? I'll tell you who needs religion, who's using religion. Even if you and I don't want that kind of public display of religion as identity politics, the politicians want it. And now that you brought up the Hindutva word, because many of these are only veiled attacks on Hindutva, which is really a veiled attack on a particular political dispensation that has taken over India. So, if you ask, whom does Hindutva threaten? A very simple answer will be, it's not that Hindutva threatens Hinduism. Hindutva threatens the Congress party. You know, one second. Hindutva, let me finish, yeah. Okay? Hindutva threatens the Khan Market gang. They are getting dislodged, okay? It doesn't mean that a political mobilization on religious lines was not done earlier. So, this whole Hindutva versus Hinduism debate, okay, is itself something we have to question. Because where is it coming from?
Makarand, just hold on. Yeah. You know, in the same spirit as I've been calling out Javed Sahab or things that he's saying, I want to call this out. You just told him that by him calling you RSS wala, that he is resulting in labeling without subut. You have just used the same, you know, Khan Market gang, these large, and you're constantly shifting the boundary and now taking Hindutva to the political realm. That no, it is political, but when you're saying that it doesn't, just hold on.
I'll just tell you one thing very quickly. Hindutva doesn't tell me whether I should, you know, follow the Yoga Sutras or whether I should follow, for example, Ishavasya Upanishad, or whether I should be a Ram Bhakt or I should be a Krishna Bhakt. It doesn't interfere in my private faith. What it does is, it's trying to create a community, okay, of voters, you know, among other things. And I'll tell you, there's no one brand of Hindutva. If Hinduism loses its essence and becomes an imitation of a Semitic and a dogmatic and a monistic, not monistic, but a monothetic type of practice just to defend itself, it would be a loss. So, if it loses its pluralism, if it loses its openness, if it loses its capacity for reinventing itself, for rationalism, for critical thinking, if it stops being a tradition full of different practices and technologies of transformation and becomes ideologized, it would be a loss.
Javed Sahab, so, you know, just for a moment, I'm not going to pull you further down that Hindutva, Muslim, etc. road. I want to ask you another question, which is that, you know, so far we're going into the classic route of is Hindutva good, is Muslims bad, etc., etc. I don't want to go there. Let's look at the fact that the 87% of this country sees itself as religious in one way or the other. They value it. It seems to have some value in their life. We know the perversion, the mutilation of it, the lynchings, the beheadings, the, you know, all the hate speech, etc. that's happening in the name of religion. No one in their right mind, whether for political mobilization or not, could support that. I want to ask you a more interesting question, which is there any use in your mind for religion as a tool of culture, of opening the imagination, of help, of succor, where people are in trouble, they turn to it. In a way, it's a very calming influence in society. People who seek spirituality, you know, in whatever path they do, as a tool of creating calm in society, do you think it's important? Because science can create as much harm as religion has. When you look at the atomic bomb, or you look at social media or algorithms, you know, science is not agnostic. It's not inherently good. It can be used for good or bad. So similarly, can religion be good and bad?
I think there are some explanation or information I owe it to him. One, the people are talking of hijab and Purdah today. Since last 30 years, I have been on record. I have had debates on TV with big mullahs from Lucknow and Delhi and so on, against Purdah, against hijab, against triple talaq. We have made in 20 years back, we went to all the cities where there are big pockets of Muslim population, and we spoke against Muslim personal law there. So it is so very easy, you know, I'll show you my phone, you'll be very happy that both dharmic people and religious people, both of them abuse me. So as long as I'm getting abused, this is from both the sides, I'm a very happy person. I'll be worried if one side stops abusing me. Ultimately, you see, the fact is that use any word. Words change their meaning. Cool today, you are young people, you would know. What cools mean today did not mean, say, 100 years back. Or hot means today did not mean 50 years back. Or gay means today did not mean 70 years back. Words change their meaning. Now religion, the origin of religion, what is the meaning of the word? You can discuss that. And you can prove that my belief doesn't come under this word. But the fact is that you have all the good points and bad points of any religion. To me, one religion is not better than other. Some of them maybe have become more fanatic, like Islam all over the world. That also have many political reasons also. Why it has happened in 30, 40, 50 years? They have to be political reasons. Like people in India, people who are Hindus, have become more stringent than what they were some 40 years back. There are some political reasons of that. We can, first of all, it is very difficult to draw a line between religion and communalism, religion and fascistic attitudes, because they overlap each other, I had made a picture, since he had mentioned my picture, in 75. Sholay. There was a scene where Dharmender hides behind Shivji's murti, and he speaks from that place, and Hema Malini says, Shivji is talking to her. Is it possible to have a scene like that today? No. I will not write a scene. Were there no Hindus in 1975? Were there no dharmic people? There were. As a matter of fact, I'm on record. I'm not saying it right here. You go, and Raju Hirani and me, we were in Pune in front of a big audience, and I said that don't become like Muslims. Make them like yourself. You are becoming like Muslims. It's a tragedy. What is our strength in this country? What makes us different from others? Why do we have democracy? Which you don't find till you reach the Mediterranean coast. Because what he said is right. That this is also true, this can also be true. This also can be believed, that also can be believed. And there was Hindu relationship with his god, a deity, was not of master or slave, but of an elder who is friendly, with whom you can even joke. And I can give hundreds of examples where they had this elbow room, this liberty. As a matter of fact, this is being curbed today. This is being taken away from Hindus. And they are being made like Jews, like Muslims, like Christians. It's a tragedy. They don't understand it. You take any belief of religion, it is absurd. It is absurd. How can a grown-up people, when you were children, you had Tooth Fairy, you had Santa Claus, you had Bhoot, there was something like Lakad Sungha in UP. Lakad Sungha used to be a man because UP, the afternoons are very warm and hot, and children used to play outside, so they had to be stopped. So they say, Lakad Sunghas come. They have a small stick in their hand, they put it under the nose of the children faint, they put them in the bag and take them away. Now when we grow up, we know there is no Lakad Sungha, we know there is no Tooth Fairy, we know that there is no ghost. But one thing is left, and that is God. God is the Santa Claus of adults.
Makarand, I have to just, again in the interests of sticking to some of the arguments raised, you started off by praising the dharmic religion for plurality, traditions for plurality, etc., etc. But you were making a spirited defense. We've already, Javed Sahab has destroyed the Muslims and Christians, so I'm not going there. I'm sticking with the Hindutva Hinduism dichotomy, because you said Hindutva is not asking Hindus to do Krishna Bhakti or Shaiva Bhakti or Vishnu Bhakti. But when Mahua Moitro said Kali is alcohol drinking and meat eating, people went bananas, Hold on. And secondly, that you have come up with an article where you said for Hindu-Muslim peace, we should have the Sanatani Accords. And in the Sanatani Accords, you have about a list of 12 or 13 things that Muslims should do to create peace between Hindus and Muslims. There's not even one thing that you've asked Hindus to do. And in that, you say loudspeakers, Muslims should accept loudspeakers are disruptive. We don't say that about the Kanwariyas. We don't say that about the Navratris.
That's wrong.
Why would your Sanatani Accords have no clauses for Hindus, only for Muslims?
Because the Hindu part of it is yet to be written. Please, you don't get the spirit of the whole thing. See, the point is this, that whatever the pillars of Islam are, okay, they don't require loudspeakers, as he will know. We won't go into that, okay? This is all a whipping up of identity politics.
You made it part of your accords, that's why I brought it up.
So you have to start somewhere. See, I want to read you one little thing. See, first of all, I want to go back to the original question. Is religion needed, okay? And I want to answer it by saying whatever is irrational, whatever is dogmatic, whatever is violent, and whatever is against, humanity in religion should be given up. This is what Vivekananda said in 1893. He says, let's strike the death knell of all fanaticism. Okay, so a rational approach is absolutely required. And yet, as Marx said, and as Javed Sahab also said, religion is an opiate. And opiate doesn't mean it's always bad, because without opium, there would be no pain killing. There would be no medication. There would be no anodyne for pain, okay? Actually, civilization is the management of pain, and religion is one of the ways to manage pain. Lenin was much more against religion in a different way. But we won't go into that. The real point is, religion as ethics, fine. Religion as a way to order your life, dharma, okay? Like dharma, artha, kama, moksha, fine. Religion to hate other people, to divide them between believers, non-believers. Religion as a way to control other people's conduct. Religion as a way to divide men and women. Absolutely not. Give it up totally. So but who is the one who's clinging to it? Well, not just the politicians, the filmmakers do it. In Sholay, you mentioned Sholay. The Muslim is always pious, okay? The Hindu is superstitious, This is how Bollywood has created a narrative. Now, let me read you one little thing. Just one, please. One short one.
While you're looking what to read.
I have it here. I have not written this, my friends. This has been written by Amit Majumdar, who is a novelist and poet based in Ohio. Okay, this is what he has written. It's in Open Magazine. He says, if Hindu kings had invaded the Hijaz over hundreds of years, used Arab Muslim women as sex slaves, and exported thousands to India, taxed Muslims if they wished to continue practicing Islam, sacked Mecca, built a Shiva temple on the Kaaba's ruins, boasted about watering the horses at the Zamzam well, and documented all this themselves in extensive chronicles, one might expect Muslims to feel a touch of resentment. In Muslim narratives, Hindus would be cast as brutal aggressors, bent on eradicating their faith and humiliating its followers. It would be difficult, if not outrightly dishonest, to gainsay that narrative. So, friends, the point I'm trying to make is Hindutva as a political movement has come out of this attempted destruction of an entire civilization. And many civilizations have been destroyed. We believe that this civilization, including its beautiful temples, okay, and also the Taj Mahal, and also the Viceregal Lodge in Shimla, where I was director, all these are monuments of what Indians have made with their sweat, toil, and tears, is worth defending, is worth preserving, and is worth protecting for future generations, which include all of you. Thank you.
It's not true. It's not true at all. The fact is that if they had invited anybody from RSS, he would have said the same thing what you are saying. He would have said the same thing. If you think that those traditions are wrong, I have the courage to say that if this is Islam, in any case, I am an atheist, but if the choice is between being a Mu'min or a Kafir, then I am a Kafir. Now you say that you condemn Manusmriti. Do you have the guts?
I condemn those aspects of Manusmriti.
No.
I've read the Manusmriti. You haven't. I have read it. There are many beautiful things in the Manusmriti. Many beautiful things.
Okay.
Even a statement. Wait.
Don't speak in middle.
There are, please read
now
it.
You are doing wrong.
You read it, don't believe me.
Makrand.
Satyam vrada, apriyam navada. Such a beautiful statement, it comes from Manusmriti. Okay?
Makrand.
Where women are respected to God's delight.
Now you are not being fair.
Can you turn down the
You
mics?
take any religious book of the world, it will give you 20 wonderful quotes. But at the same time, there are some very poisonous things in every religious book. Every religious book. There are extremely poisonous. At the same time, they have such wonderful quotes and such humanitarian attitudes and whatever, blah, blah, blah. The fact is that you are still stuck in that mindset. If somebody, don't speak in this. If some Turk, if some Iranian had come and had done that, say 500 years or 600 years ago, you remember that. But do you remember Akbar, who had translated, who got Ramayana and Mahabharata translated and sent to the rest of the world, to countries, that this is our book. Do you remember those people who you call them invaders? Mughals are a four-letter word today. During Akbar, Shah Jahan and Jahangir, India was the richest country in the world. More than 25% of GDP of the world was in India. It is because of the plunderers. They were plunderers. Thomas Roe had come during the time of Jahangir. He was the representative of British Crown. And he wrote to it, and anybody of you who goes to England, go to India House, give 10 pounds, and they will take out the record for you. He said, wrote to the government, that you have sent me to do trade, take the permission from the king to do trade with India, but what will we sell them? They have everything. An average Indian's standard of living. One second. आप बहुत बात कर चुके हो उधर. Don't do that. Do you want me to come again for you? So you behave yourself. He said that what can we sell to them? An average Indian's standard of living is much better than an average Englishman. This man was not of a communist party. This man was not from Congress party. This man was not an atheist like me. He was the representative of the crown, and that is what he noticed during Jahangir's time. But for you, all of them, if you are a Muslim, you are an invader.
No. That's
when today what is happening, condemn it if you have the guts. Condemn what this government is doing. Do you have the guts?
I agree. I think, okay, I'm going
Say that I condemn what is being happening. Say it.
condemn the wicked aspects of Hinduism.
Oh, absolutely. No, which ones? I can't just make a wholesale. Do you remember
Makarand, no question here.
I
Let's
don't-
talk.
I'm extremely sorry, ma'am.
the slaughter? 30,000
Makarand.
people
Sorry.
killed in
So-
Chittor, Akbar.
Makarand,
30,000.
I have to ask you to stop.
If you
Javed
want to
Sahab.
have the last word, you are talking to the wrong person.